Sandy. Hi, Nikki. All right. The joys of technology.
Everybody.
Okay, welcome. Thank you so much for being here. Sunshine and Smiles, Nicole, Bungalow 805. All right, everybody. So I am Krista Orecchio. You know me, clinical nutritionist with The Whole Journey, and I want to introduce you, if you don't already know, to Jeannie Rubin from East West Healing.
Yes, hello everybody. It's fun to be here.
So Jeannie, how long have you been a nutritionist?
I have been a nutritionist for 12 years now. Yes,
yeah.
for 12
years.
And
doing this work really for years before that.
Years before that.
And so Jeannie and I, those of you who have been following the Adrenal Recode mini course, we love all your comments. We love all of your feedback. And I'm so excited that this work is resonating with you because it's different than anything else that's out there already. And that is why we are bringing the Adrenal Recode to you. So Jeannie and I met about 5 years ago. I told you in the mini course, I had been running a lot of labs, working with a ton of people with adrenal fatigue and thyroid imbalances and digestive problems. And I hit into that period of adrenal dysfunction. And I went to Jeannie because I wanted to try something new with a focus on the nervous system. And this approach was so different than anything that I had ever experienced. And it works. And we are working, right, Jeannie, to balance, to meet you wherever you are, whatever's going on with your body, and to balance your unique physiology, like truly from the root cause.
And I think that's what you're saying is really important, Krista, about really meeting people where they are. Because I think a lot of the times what I've experienced in the healing process, as we take steps, we're trying to get to a place that our body can't really tolerate. We go too fast, not realizing that our body's in this really sensitive, reactive state, and we kind of really have to nurture it back to this place of health.
Yeah, and that's a lot of the comments and the questions we're getting. Hi, Rebecca. I'm glad you loved all the videos. Hi, Amika. Happy holidays, everybody. It's so fun to be with you. So I just want to welcome some people who have already joined the Adrenal Recode. And because we had a tech issue starting, we lost our text up there. But we have now people joining the Recode from 7 different countries and from all over the U.S. and Agata from Poland. We've got Yuhan from Singapore and Nicole and Kerala from Australia, Sue from Canada, Tamara from Illinois. We're so excited to guide you through this process. The Adrenal Recode begins January 8th, and we will go through it together until March 1st. And you're going to be working with the clinical component with Jeannie and I primarily, but we also have 3 amazing clinical and integrative nutritionists with The Whole Journey that are going to be working with you through email to make sure that you're getting the results that you came to us for. And you're going to be able to understand your logs. Hi, Mary. Okay, so let's take some questions. So we had some people post questions already on the event page, and you can post your questions directly into the Instagram feed or into the Facebook feed. So Jeannie, I'm going to let you take this one from Cheryl.
Okay.
Is intermittent fasting okay after the Adrenal Recode, or would you consider it never being beneficial?
This is a very controversial topic, as we know, as far as intermittent fasting. And I think what we have to kind of begin to look at is that we naturally, as humans, are designed to fast for a 8 to 12 hour period, really. And our goal is to kind of bring us back to restoring cortisol rhythm so we can come back to that natural state of fasting that allows the body to recover. I think a lot of what has gotten most people to where they are today is not eating, not eating enough, not supporting our energy demands, not providing the body the resources it needs to, again, reduce stress hormones and upregulate energy.
Yes.
Right? So I think that in a perfect world, intermittent fasting here and there, it's touchy. It's not something that we typically would recommend. And I think, again, working the process of the Adrenal Recode is going to recover cortisol rhythms. It's going to allow you more deep, restful sleep. that's going to allow you to, again, achieve that same goal that you would with intermittent fasting.
Yeah, we don't want you to backtrack on the healing that you achieve throughout the Adrenal Recode. And so I want to welcome Kay from Australia, GT Fiber, she signed up. Awesome. Nina from South Africa. So when you come into the Adrenal Recode program, you're going to take an assessment. And so that assessment has both of our entire career's knowledge behind it. And Jeannie and I have worked this assessment every which way from Sunday, right? And we've been testing it out on others before we have it in the Adrenal Recode, because we want to understand, we wanted to save you the cost of lab work, right? I was running all the neurotransmitter panels, the hormone panels, the saliva tests, you're looking at digestive function. We wanted to just understand the degree of sensitivity that you're experiencing right now, and this state, your current state of your nervous system, and the accumulation of how you got that way, because your life is this beautiful story. And so we take the entire story from childhood all the way to present day into account to understand the current state of your nervous system health, and then you will be put in one of two tiers or two tracks for the Adrenal Recode, and that's going to determine really which foods you eat now versus which foods that you're going to be eating later, and your food frequency. And so if you're tier 2, you're more sensitive than most, and that's my tier where I come from, so I get it. So fasting has never worked great for me. Of course I've done it, I've tried everything out there, but then you can get the benefit from fasting and in certain systems, but you have to compromise the endocrine system and the nervous system in order to get the benefits on the digestive and immune system. And there's so many other paths up the same mountain where you're not compromising anything. You are holistically balancing your physiology in a way you've never experienced probably before. That was my take on this.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's another thing that, Krista and I were talking about, is that there's methods are many and principles are few. So I think we're coming back to this place of how do we function and how do we support that? And again, in doing that, we're going to recover those systems. We're going to recover that ability to digest and balance our hormones and all the things that we're going to be talking to you about.
Yes, so there's so many of you that are here. I love seeing you all. Michaela, yes, Sandy from Savannah, welcome. She joined the Adrenal Recode. And so a lot of you have come to me from the Candida cleanse or from Gut Thrive, or a lot of you are writing in about digestive issues. Oh, but there's dairy in this. Krista, you don't put dairy in any of your programs. Oh my gosh, right? And so what are we going to do if there's food sensitivities or I have digestive issues? And so the root cause of some digestive issues come from the thyroid not working. So, 8% of our gut thrivers who have SIBO, and they're not getting the benefits on Gut Thrive, that inveterate constipation that can come from having SIBO, even though we're addressing the gut-brain, brain-gut axis, can be caused by primary hypothyroidism, which we're going to address here in the Adrenal Recode. And as you start to shut off the stress response, and as you start to heal, if your issues digestively are induced by stress, you will then upregulate digestive function again. Your body will then learn how to produce digestive enzymes once again on its own, which is really cool. This is a totally different path, like up the same mountain towards health.
And I want to touch on that just a
little
bit. Yeah,
please.
Because I think I want to really help you guys understand the depth of this. It's really, really deep. And the only way that I can really explain that is that we came in as a single cell, right, into this world, and since then we have transformed, or what is multiplied. Thank you, multiplied into these trillions of cells that make up every single one of our tissues, every single one of our organ tissues, and that's the level that we're working at, because we want those cells to be breathing in a specific way that provides energy, right? And a lot of you have questions about body temperature and pulse, and we'll be talking about that, but the main gist, or the idea behind, or why the body temperature and pulse is so important and allows us to become so informed, is that the human body is required to be at a certain temperature for enzyme production, and the function of all the things that our body's producing with the food that we eat, right? So again, I think that that's really important, because it is those cells and how they're functioning, how they're breathing, that is conducting every single system in the body. That is, if we talk about the root cause, that's the root cause.
That's
right?
the root cause. And that's why, I've had a lot of people say, is this program right for me? Is that program? This is the only program that I've created that's right for every person. And I'm happy to say that. Pregnancy, nursing, breastfeeding, because we are all cellular, and we have 37.2 trillion cells in all of our bodies. And what we are doing is we're working at the cellular level to teach each cell to make and burn energy efficiently once again, but we're also protecting it. We're healing collateral damage to the nervous system. So that's why this is so different. And to Jeannie's point, a lot of people are saying my temperature is this after this meal, or it's that after that meal. But just like we don't treat lab work when we're running labs, like we treat the person. We want to know what's going on in your life and what's the culmination. How were you eating before that? What was going on in your emotional world? What's going on in your day-to-day? So in the Adrenal Recode, we're going to teach you. You're going to be taking your temperature and pulse 4 times a day, concurrently with logs. You're going to check you're going to be writing down your food and your mood and all kinds of activity levels, not just exercise. And you're going to be really tuning into yourself. And that's what's going to make the numbers mean something.
Yes.
And
I think it's also, and this is what I love so much about it, is because I see this kind of angst underlying, how do I get better? How do I get well, right? What's wrong with me? What's going on here? And as we begin to kind of paint this picture, it puts it in perspective, and then it allows you to kind of settle into yourself. You know what I mean? Settle into that healing process and really trust it at a whole nother level, which is, I think, one of the greatest gifts of this program is perspective. And, now I can understand why my body's feeling that way. And now I have some tools to begin to meet my body where it is. It's all in that strategy, right?
It's all in the strategy. And you guys have worked with me before. How many times have I said, we want to teach a man how to fish instead of give a man a fish? And I don't want you feeling like, how am I going to get well? I give my power away to this practitioner, to this diet, to this blogger, and I'm trying and I'm chasing all these different things and they don't work. This is something where Jeannie and I, we say, hey, there's not going to be any more shots in the dark. There's not going to be any more guessing. Is this something that's going to work? Because we're giving you the power. It's not that, we're the guides, but all the healing happens in your body. And then we help you interpret this so you can get in this perfect healing zone and be certain that you're there and that you can stay there. I mean, meal to meal, snack to snack, right? That's wild. When most of people were going to say, well, I'll check my lab work every 3 months and I'll check in and see how I'm doing. But now you can know it like every couple of hours.
And do we kind of just touch on the lab work? I think just to put it out there, I mean, most of you may be already thinking along these lines, but the lab work, again, it's informing us that there are issues in different systems or maybe deficiencies in systems, but it's not informing us as to why. And that's what this is going to really begin to highlight for you. Some of the parts and pieces nutritionally, emotionally, that are playing a role in what's keeping your body from healing.
Exactly. Yep. So let's talk. We've got Lisa, hi, from Vermont, and Mary, long time.
All kinds of friends over here. Oops.
Long time, whole journey. Mary Sure, she says, what will the Recode do that is helpful for postmenopausal women? That's a wonderful question. Can you speak to the sex hormone balance postmenopausal?
Sure. I mean, we know that, in postmenopause, hormones have changed. There's been a shift, right? But I think, again, most women, in my experience, are going into menopause in a deficient state as it is. So they experience menopause very aggressively. It's not supposed to be this huge transition where we just, it's a death sentence. And I think a lot of women experience it that way, unfortunately. But postmenopausal is just going to allow you to begin to create more regulation in your hormones, to begin to identify. It's not. For postmenopausal, it's perfect because, again, it's allowing you to just create that regulation in the body overall, which obviously, if your adrenal glands are at rest and only being worked when it's absolutely necessary, we're going to increase your thyroid, right? You have to have thyroid hormone in order to convert cholesterol into steroidal hormones, along with a lot of other nutrients. So again, when we look at the effects of stress on digestion, we look at the energy demands, it's kind of like the body stealing from Peter to pay Paul. We begin to recover those things. Now we're producing these steroidal hormones again. We're creating balance. We're regulating blood sugar. We're taking the burden off the adrenals. It's phenomenal for postmenopausal
It really
women.
is. And a lot of times, like menopause can be the most peaceful time, hormonal time in your life when you're balanced, because you aren't dealing with the fluctuations of menstruation. And because we are replenishing and balancing the neurotransmitters in the brain and working to remyelinate the myelin sheath, you took the mini course, you know, the electrical insulator of your nerve cells really all throughout your body, you're going to feel different. So, you know, a lot of women going into menopause are deficient in serotonin. So the hot flashes come and they're relentless. And so you'll be able to mitigate a lot of those symptoms as well if you're experiencing menopausal symptoms. Hi, Jane. Jane knows both of us.
Oh, hi. Oh, Shank. Yes, hello.
Okay. All right. I do need to comment on the whole vegetarian issue, because I feel guilty about this, but we cannot find a way to make the Adrenal Recode work, to implement the strategy for vegans and vegetarians. You have to eat fish as a bare minimum, or preferably fish and eggs, because we're actually using eggs and liver for the choline, the combination of the perfect amount of choline that your brain needs to replenish neurotransmitters and to make them work synergistically. So Bhakti is saying, I am part of the first time Gut Thrive launch. I'm vegetarian. I've started the morning elixir and adrenal creamsicle before bed, and banana and cashews. I feel energy, but I've gained 4 pounds and I feel bloated all the time. Is this expected, or is it a short-lived symptom? I'm so glad that Bhakti asked this question, because a lot of people are scared to gain weight on the Adrenal Recode. So Jeannie, I'll let you start.
I think when we see a really quick weight gain like that, again, it's informing us of the state of the body, right? So we have to, as Krista mentioned earlier, we're going to be doing these assessments that are going to allow you to begin to identify a little bit more where you are and what those guidelines are going to be for you as you move through the process. But if you don't eat a lot of carbohydrates and you have been on a low carb diet and your body is in a little bit of an energy deficit, it's a double-edged sword. You need the carbs to heal, but the carbs are also you're hyperinsulinemic, which means your body overproduces insulin at the taste of the look of any carbohydrate, right? So I think we have to slow it down, right? Weight gain can happen because we are working with deficient systems, right? And in that creates a lot of dysregulation in the hormones that insulin, glucagon, all those different hormones that affect blood sugar, adrenaline, cortisol, all those things. So we have to slow it down, be aware of how many carbohydrates we're consuming so we can slowly begin to titrate them back up over time. We don't just want to start hitting the body with carbohydrates. I think that's really important. And you guys are going to have a real opportunity to define where your start point is with the assessments that we've presented and that we'll be presenting in the program. Yeah,
you'll take your assessments, and if you've come from not eating many carbs or especially ketogenic, we're going to start small, like a few tablespoons of carbohydrates.
Literally.
Because we have to train, because your body's been used to not running off of carbohydrates. And so it's like, what? This isn't fuel. I don't know what to do with it. Store it as fat. And we have to say, oh no, actually, this is the best fuel you can have. And it's just teaching and training the body to use it again. So it's a temporary issue. So Bhakti, you're going to, I would probably say to do the half of a banana instead of the full banana. And I'd prefer maybe you even did the golden milk over the banana. You're getting energy, which is really good.
And even if the adrenal creamsicle, if you feel it works for you, just pull back a little bit on the orange juice.
Yeah. So a few ounces less OJ.
Maybe substitute it with some coconut water or something like that.
Yeah, that's a great recommendation. Then you also, for your adrenals, you're getting glucose, potassium, and sodium. Perfect. The adrenals will love that. And okay, so Lori Childs here. Okay, so Lori Childs here. Okay, sorry, we're getting a camera alert. You can't see us on Instagram. Okay, Lori Childs says, I have Hashimoto's and I know I'm still not fully healed with my gut. Would the Adrenal Recode be appropriate at this time? So, Lori, I am going to say yes, especially if you've done some gut healing work. The number one thing you can do for yourself with Hashimoto's is to balance your blood sugar. And so if you can get your blood sugar balanced, you're going to remove a huge immunological burden, and you're going to be able to start getting the thyroid back online and the adrenals to really see what's working. And, I've spent so much time working with gut health that there are microbiome balancers worked in all throughout the Adrenal Recode. So we'll help you navigate that. We'll help you. We've got a large food list that you can consume. And if you come in, tier 1, we'll be able to try everything now. Tier 2, you guys are going to have some food sensitivities. And so you're going to pick and choose from the food list. But there's so many foods you can eat, and we'll teach you how to put your diet together in a way that works for you. Okay, there's so many questions coming in. Jeannie,
can we take some from Instagram?
Yeah, go ahead. Let's see.
I don't know if we want.
Are there?
I think there was one up here.
Okay.
Oh, I'm not going to
Instagram.
Yeah, Instagram. You guys got a lot of questions.
Okay.
Are there alternatives for those who can't eat fish or liver but do eat meat and poultry? Absolutely. As long as you consume some forms of protein, this program's going to work really well for you. It's just, I think, again, if you are not consuming any animal proteins at all, it's not so much designed for that.
I'd love to take those questions. So a Nectar 06, what are the items that will be healing for the emotions and the mental aspect? I'm really excited about this. And if you went through the mini course and you saw my 4th video, my own personal story, and it's interesting. So Jeannie had said to me, I said, let's take this work to a larger scale. And this was 5 years ago. And then you came back and you said, I'm ready. And I wasn't quite ready yet. I'm still learning, but I needed to go through what I went through to create the emotional part of the Adrenal Recode to really be able to bring this to you in a way that I feel like is comprehensive and finishing work and groundbreaking. So part 2 of the Adrenal Recode, you are going to be setting up an entirely new physiological foundation in part 1. So many of your symptoms are going to go away. You're going to start to feel grounded and centered and energetic and positive and at peace. And now you'll finally be ready to do whatever emotional repatterning is necessary. So when stresses come along again, you're not going to emotionally react with anxiety and go back. Because a lot of times we are reacting out of what happened to us in the past. We're not responding to the current situation at hand. And so we're going to take you through a process. And we have a life coach who worked for Tony Robbins for a decade, an emotional mastery coach. I will be taking you through the process as well, where we're going to start by dismantling limiting belief systems. And you can ask me if you don't know what those are, but really the first 7 years of our life, we develop deficiencies about ourselves, and we also develop faulty beliefs, so to speak, about the world that maybe became compensation skills. And I've talked about this in the mini course, so make sure you take that course. It's available to the 6th if you haven't. And so what we're going to do is identify the limiting beliefs that are tied to keeping you in a stressed state, that are tied to keeping you feeling anxious and nervous. And we're going to dismantle those limiting beliefs. And then we are going to revolve the beliefs and set up new beliefs that become your new normal, your new way of reacting and responding. We take you through with it. We have an amazing process that we take you through to taking radical personal accountability and responsibility. That is going to be a huge part of after you dismantle your limiting beliefs, because when we don't ever operate from blame and shame, then so many of our negative emotions, whether they be from feeling like a victim or feeling like a martyr, they will start to completely and utterly go away. And that's when you can go through whatever's happened to you, whoever has done whatever to you, you will be able to forgive. And we have a neurobiologist, a psychoneurobiologist. I'm going to take you through her forgiveness process that is true, and it works, and it leads to untold peace. And from that place, you'll be able to live in a more present and grounded state. You'll be able to experience gratitude most of the time naturally without having to try so hard. And so this is where we kind of say it's claiming your power. It's living in your true essence. It's a completely an utterly different, more powerful, and more joyful way to live. And this is where you can start to really attract completely different people, places, and things in your life so you can live how you really want to live. And that's how you're completely recoded mentally, emotionally, and of course, physically.
Right. And I'd like to add to that just a little bit. One of the most powerful things that I've experienced in this program as the years of developing the nutrition around the adrenals and the thyroid and the nervous system, and where I really began to tune in, holy, we're really affecting the nervous system here, right? Is as we begin to resource the body, you know what I mean? It's like we all have this innate ability to heal. That's what our body's constantly working to do. We just don't have the resources to do that. And as we begin to build these resources, we begin to resource internally, which allows us to begin to process those emotional pieces, right? Which is why we kind of set it up this way. So we're building that resiliency in these people, or everybody, you guys, and ourselves, to begin to tap into those deeper levels, like with what Krista said, it's really becoming apparent that, again, we are working with the issues that we're seeing in the health industry, or with the things people are struggling with, are really conditioning issues. They're not food issues, right? It's not the right diet or the wrong diet. It's looking deeper within ourselves, and what do we need as individuals based on that story to begin to thrive and heal at a deeper level. But going back to what I was saying, is that's where it's allowed to happen, right? We have to become resourced to tap into those deeper spaces where we can't access otherwise, because sometimes for some of us, it's painful, right? It's painful and it's hard. Well, it's going to be painful either way, you know, but I think it gives you a lot more to work with to be able to make sense of it all. Does that make sense? It
does. It absolutely does. And the way that the emotional process is set up is very gentle, right? So we've got you. And if you've looked into the work of Joe Dispenza, Bruce Lipton, Byron Katie, we're going to be working. There's some elements of all of their work involved in there. And so it's going to be gentle. So we get so many questions. Our lovely operations ninja Janine, she's like, move on. There's so many questions coming in. Okay. I have like 30 papers in front of me. Is coffee off limits? I knew you're going to ask that, especially Candida and gut thrive, because you're not drinking coffee, but you're going to be excited that you can have coffee on the Adrenal Recode, but there's contingencies too. Okay, so we're having you have a teaspoon of lion's mane mushroom in there, which is essential, wonderful for nerve repair. You cannot have it before 10 a.m., right? Because we want to get you out of this biochemical cycle. If you have it first thing in the morning, you're again going to be kicking your adrenals when we're trying to heal them. So you can have it at 10 a.m. and before 1. You can have 1 12-ounce cup of coffee a day, and you must eat with it. So those are the rules on the Recode.
Can I explain that just a little bit more?
Please.
Caffeine works for some people, it doesn't work for other people. So again, something you're going to begin to identify in yourself. But what we've noticed over the years is most people are waking up in an energy deficit, right? Most people can't regulate their blood sugar for longer than 2 to 3 hours. And here we are coming out of our 8 to 10 to 12 hour fast. So we are at our most vulnerable space from a blood sugar perspective, or unstable space, first thing in the morning. So what we really want to do is prepare the body with that energy to support the stimulation that caffeine does have, right? So that's why those contingencies are set up that way, so that you guys can be more successful and enjoy what you enjoy.
Well, you're already setting yourself up with a mini course with the Recode Morning Elixir, because you've woken up from your fast. Now you're refilling your glycogen stores. You're giving your body what it needs to make energy instead of trying to force it back into that same state you're really desperately trying to get out of. And you're setting yourself up great with your breakfast.
Always meeting the body where it is. That's always what we're trying to do, is meet the body where it is.
Okay. When you pass me over the questions, Janine, can you let me know who's asking them?
It's on Instagram.
Instagram doesn't have it. Okay, so Instagram coming on. I'm going on a 2-week vacation in the middle of the program. Can I still participate? Sure. Yeah, you can. Well, you can take us with you anywhere, but we don't want you going, off the cuff on vacation. You'll be able to, we'll allow 1 glass of wine a week on the Adrenal Recode. So you can absolutely travel with this program, and we've got lots of tips and tricks for you. And the webinars are all going to be recorded, so you'll be able to watch them, and you can you wanted to jump in. Go.
No, I just wanted to say that that's really, I love that question, because I think sometimes when we go on vacation or something else, if there's a big event or even the holidays, it's like, oh, I'm going to have to drop my diet, or I'm going to have to do, I'm going to be bad, or we start to shame ourselves. But what I love so much about this is it's not anything crazy. You're eating food, right? You're eating food in a frequency that's helping you regulate in a balance. That's it. And you can find these foods anywhere you go, so it's really, really simple to adhere to. And even the application of some of the base principles that we're going to be teaching is going to be progressing you no matter what, right? So it's very flexible in that way, which is
It's the consistency is a jewel in this program. We've got Recode mantras worked all throughout the program, and that's important. And so wherever you are, the consistency is going to be important. And I'm telling you, if you've done Gut Thrive, you've done Candida, or even the nutritional lifestyle program, there's a lot more flexibility in the Adrenal Recode than the other programs that I have put out, because we're doing this kind of minute-to-minute tool with your body. We're doing the dance together. So I think you are perfectly well set up. If you've done any of my other programs, you'll think this one is definitely easier. Okay, so how about this, Jeannie? I'm fully clear of SIBO. Are you sure I'm okay to add carbs in? Great question.
Yes, I think you are. But again, it's going to, you're not just going to want to be throwing those carbs back in there. As we discussed earlier, I think you have to really begin to titrate them in slowly, and it's going to always be in that balance. I think it's really important. Most of you may have already caught on to this in just the mini course, that you'll never be eating carbohydrates by themselves. We'll never recommend that for anybody, no matter where you are in your healing process. They should always be consumed with protein and fat. So it's just finding that right balance for you and the right types of carbohydrates that are going to work for your body and establishing that balance. But it's really coming down to that blood sugar regulation. So absolutely, you can use carbohydrates.
Okay, so Linda, I work full-time and I go to school right now. That's a lot. I've been there. I'm concerned about having the time to dedicate to the program. When are the sessions, and will they be recorded? So we want you to dedicate roughly around 7 hours a week to the Adrenal Recode. You've got to log, you've got to prepare your food. It's not as intensive, again, as the other programs that we have. And the sessions are on Tuesday. The live webinars are on Tuesdays from 4 to 5:30. We'll go longer if there's questions, Pacific. And then Jeannie and I are both going to spend an hour in the Facebook group in addition to that each week. Jeannie, you'll be there 10 to 11 on Wednesdays?
It's 12 to 1.
12 to 1 on Wednesdays. Maybe it's me. Maybe I'm there. 10 to 11 on Fridays. So we'll go ahead and put out that schedule in the FAQs. And then don't forget, so whatever troubles that you may be having, we have an amazing clinical team, and we love you guys. It's Lori, Joe, and Nicole, and Danielle, and they're all watching right now, and they're helping with all of the questions. And these are the clinical angels that are going to be answering your tickets. So something that we offer that makes really all of my whole journey programs different is that we have this entire clinical staff that not only knows this information every which way from Sunday, where you can hardly find practitioners who understand it, it's that you can just submit a ticket right from the portal and you'll get an answer within 48 hours. Most of the time it's within 24. And so we want you to feel like you're covered from all angles. If you miss a webinar, yes, you'll get it the next day. You can watch it the next day. If you have a question that you couldn't ask on it, you can then submit a ticket. Okay, this is great because so many of you are on thyroid medication, okay? And A lot of times being on thyroid medication can rev the engine of an already tired system, and it can actually drive you deeper into dysfunction. I'm not saying that happens all the time. There's some cases where you need it, but now people are asking us, Lori Louise Taylor, might this help me get off my 0.25 grain of nature thyroid and supplemental T3? And the answer is a resounding yes, because when you heal your thyroid and we can start to produce and maintain the energy that we produce, you're going to be getting more bioavailable thyroid hormone within the cell. And, you know, Jeannie does this every single day, all day. So I want you to add to that.
Yep. So I think that what Krista was saying is a lot of times people are going on thyroid medication because they have the symptoms. There may be some lower levels in their labs, may or may not be lower levels in their labs, or levels that are out of range. The fact that you're taking the supplemental T3 is showing me that there's more of a conversion issue than there is more a thyroid issue. So as we begin to restore the liver with those glycogen reserves that it needs to be able to convert that thyroid hormone, as Krista said, you're going to be upregulating that thyroid function and recovering the health of that. So 100% you're going to be able to get off that medication. You're on a really low dose, which is great. But I think, again, that's just showing us a little bit more as far as your ability to do that.
Yep. All right. Top fan, Charles Rayleigh. Can I stop taking blood pressure medication?
It has happened many times. We've had many people come off blood pressure medication. And I think that absolutely, given how the adrenals affect
blood pressure. You know that saying,
there's a vasoconstriction, that happens when the body's in a state of stress. So obviously that is going to allow you to begin regulating your blood pressure a lot more by reducing the stress and burden on the adrenals and upregulating your energy systems, which are keeping your
and balancing more circulation too.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, so Kelly, is the program doable with a 4-week-old newborn while I'm breastfeeding?
Well, that's completely up to you,
Kelly. Yeah, I having a 10-month-old right now, I want to say it depends on how much support you have, because when you have a newborn and you're nursing, you don't have a ton of free time. So when are you going to be able to do your food prep? And do you have a supportive partner who's going to be able to do the food prep for you? Then I would say yes. I mean, it's the single best thing you can do. I mean, especially, and I ran my labs, like producing a human child and birthing that baby and then being constantly woken up every couple of hours is the greatest stress to your thyroid and adrenal glands there could almost possibly be. Every single mother who has had a baby needs to balance their thyroid and their adrenal glands, and especially if you have multiple children, because of the burden that this takes on it. I mean, we're so lucky and privileged to be able to do this, but it's the greatest journey a human body can take, and this is the most holistic, effective way back to balance your hormones after having a child. So if you have the support of someone who can help you prepare, then absolutely do the program. Or you can join the Adrenal Recode. You have access to the Adrenal Recode for a full year. You could wait until you're newborn, a few months if you find it's too much. You could wait until you're newborn, is sleeping through the night, hopefully at 4 months. That's when Austin started sleeping through the night. And then you'll have a little bit more bandwidth. And so you can go, through the program then. And you'll still have access to our clinical team. So that would be my advice for you. All right. Janine, thank you. Shamirian, will the program address appropriate exercise for my adrenal fatigue stage and assist with weight loss? Yes. I'll let you answer.
Yes.
Begin answering
So
that.
Exercise is a stress. I think we all understand that is a stress. So you're going to start to what you're going to begin to see is how you're recovering from your exercise. Are you recovering from your exercise? And then from there, you're going to begin to make modifications on your frequency, your intensity, the type that you're doing. All of these things are going to become more available for you to modify much more clearly with the information and feedback that you're going to be receiving through the program, right?
Yeah, and so there's in module 3 of the Adrenal Recode, there's movement suggestions, and especially if you're anxious and you're struggling. So we're recommending foam rolling. We're recommending something you may not know about me is I taught yoga for about 4 years in my 20s. So I am your yoga instructor teaching a parasympathetic flow to constantly shut off the sympathetic nervous system, click you into the parasympathetic nervous system where you can rest, digest, and heal, and walking, and that's great. But then some people on the mini course, and Jeannie answered the questions, if you're a marathon runner, hey, we're going to help you meet you where you are, and your logs are going to tell us, is that working for you or not? We're not going to say, hey, this is the exercise for you, but your body's own feedback system is going to say it's working or it's not.
Right. And sometimes, that's exactly right, which will allow you to, like we keep talking about, meet your body where it is so that you can build back up to that goal exercise that you want to be doing. If you get to that point where you're like, okay, well now I want to go run a marathon, or I want to do some heavy weightlifting, things like that. But we want to prepare your body for that, and so that you're not sacrificing yourself.
Okay, I already eat carbs. Is this program for me? You bet it is. It's harder for people who have not been eating carbs. We're going to help those people heal, but it's going to be easier for you if you're already eating carbs, because now your body already knows how to metabolize them. So your healing will come probably a little bit quicker than those who haven't been eating carbs before. The other, Wendy is saying, I'm 2 months into a heavy metal detox program. Would it be best to finish that first? That depends.
I think it depends. It depends on how intense the heavy metal detox program is. That would be primarily my first question would be, what does that entail? If it is a very aggressive heavy metal detox, I would say finish that first. There's too much happening there. Right.
So Wendy, you can write in to our customer care team, info@thewholejourney.com. Tell them a little bit about what your heavy metal detox program is and a little background, 1 to 2 paragraphs, and we'll be able to give you a better answer on that. And then Monica, okay, there's something going on. I think the medical media must have posted something. Someone said on breast implant illness.
I'm working with a couple women with this.
Yeah, so Monica says, having a foreign object in your body, breast implants, I feel my immune system is weak. Will this help? And the answer is absolutely. It can only help to strengthen and to alleviate other burdens, so your body is not struggling to fight so many other things. And then doing the removal will be, up to you.
Yeah. I think we have to, the immune system is weakened because of the burden on the system. So it's affecting directly, 80% of our immune system is in our gut, right? So that has a direct effect on that. So anything that is going to help improve, heal, recover, balance is going to be very, very powerful for any autoimmune issues or weakened immune systems.
And why don't you go ahead and speak more, because we've got some people writing, and I have autoimmune issues. And I want you to really understand, if you have autoimmune issues, like how this program is going to really help to alleviate that.
Well, when we speak about the immune system, again, as I just mentioned, most of it is in our gut, and stress is the number one breakdown of the immune system. Cortisol is what begins to compromise our secretory IgA, our first line of defense. So by, again, taking that burden off, upregulating energy, which again, remember that cellular component that we're working with, that root cause, is going to allow us to begin to heal the immune system, strengthen the immune system, and over time, potentially recover some of these autoimmune diseases. But they're more chronic, right? It's a more chronic immune system issue, which is going to take a little bit longer time, but certainly is effective.
Yeah, and so basically you can expect about 1 month of healing for every year that you've been sick. And, usually one autoimmune disease begets a second or a third. So we're dealing with a lot of layers here. But what we can say is that the vast majority of you are going to be feeling 30 to 50% better within 2 to 3 weeks of truly being committed on the Adrenal Recode. So that gives you the wherewithal to keep going, right? Because a lot of your symptoms are going away, you're starting to feel better, and and then it becomes more normal and natural for you to eat and live the way that we're suggesting. And so that's when, over time you start to really get the benefits, and they show in your lab work with Hashimoto's, less antibodies and things like that when you're trying to heal immune issues.
Yep. And I think we have to, disease is stress adaptation. right?
Yeah.
So the body adapts into a diseased state. So when we think about it that way, it makes sense that we can adapt back out of that state, right? So it takes time for that to happen. None of us have just, waved a wand and the next day we have these issues that we're dealing with. It's taken a time and a story and, all these different parts and pieces that have led up to where we are today. And that's why it's so important to look at all of these things, because that's going to allow us to take that kind of angst off of how do we get there faster, right? It's not a race to the finish line, right? We're trying to kind of just build that back up over time. And I think that's what I wanted to speak to, is that we have to understand that the disease is a stress adaptation. If we begin to work with that.
That's what, if you watch the mini course, right? It's a whirlpool, and it's slow, and it started, and then it's that stress adaptive state, and it built, and then it has a life of its own. And it's just going so fast, and so we get the opportunity in the Adrenal Recode to intercept that flow every single time we eat. Every single time we breathe. By the way, breathing is 33% of this entire equation, because we need more oxygen, thyroid hormone, and glucose in your cells to get this healing effect. And so we're going to constantly interrupt that whirlpool. And then with all the good things you're doing, now you're getting it flowing in the right direction. And now you're in a health adaptive state, and your body can maintain it naturally. And you feel like, wow, I don't have to work so hard to maintain this. And that's what I really want for all of you to feel.
We're creating this, we're helping you and guiding you through this process to create a foundation that supports you in all of who you are, and all of your story, and all your beautiful uniqueness. That's what this process is designed to do, so we can adapt back into that state of health. I know,
right? It makes me want to cry.
It's really beautiful.
Okay, so Mary Beth, you are joining us. Yay, I did Gut Thrive 2 years ago, loved it. I'm postmenopausal and looking forward to the Recode. Yes, we're looking forward to having you. You and Mary, sure? Yes, we're going to do it together. Jeanette, okay. 100%. Okay, so Jeanette, thank you. You tried the Recode, the mini course. You loved it. Oh, this is perfect for you. Will the program help high anxiety, panic attacks, and with overall mental, emotional health with the physical? So yes, Jeanette, yes. We've addressed that several different times throughout this, but you are the perfect candidate for the Adrenal Recode. Those who are struggling mentally, emotionally, physically with anxiety, overwhelm, exhaustion, fear, worry. This is the right program for you.
Beautiful.
Thanks, Janine. Oh, another Jeannie. Okay, Jeannie is asking, is there a way to distinguish between lack of energy, between diet and seasonal depression?
I think they go hand in hand.
They go hand in hand, and some of it has to do with serotonin syndrome. Some of it has to do with vitamin D deficiency and where you are.
Well, a lot of it has to do with the effects of light. And the light of day and the dark of night. And as the seasons begin to change, it affects cortisol rhythms and cellular energy production, therefore. So the longer, the shorter the days are, the longer the night, the more stress there is on the system, which is what is essentially affects or causes that seasonal depression. So yes, because we're going to be upregulating all those things, and we can present you with tools that are going to really help support, again, those times of the year. Yeah, 100%. This is where somebody is going to need a lot more heated food, light exposure. There's a lot of different ways you can do that. But 100%, it's brilliant for somebody that struggles with those things. Yeah,
and you might need a little extra vitamin D.
Yeah.
So Danielle, I think we want to talk about this, because we've talked a lot about high cortisol in the mini course, but really this is solving a cortisol rhythm issue. So that goes for low cortisol as well. So Danielle's saying, can you talk about low cortisol and when to do Gut Thrive or kick Candida, over the Adrenal Recode? And so if you have the symptoms we just mentioned, exhaustion, depression, anxiety, panic attacks, overwhelm, you get hangry, you're getting hair loss, or you have these symptoms plus constipation, the Adrenal Recode is right for you first. If you have an overwhelming yeast overgrowth, you've taken several rounds of antibiotics and antifungals, and you can't seem to get control of it, you can start with the Candida program first. But if your primary symptoms are the ones I just mentioned, then the stress is lowering your immune system and allowing the Candida to overgrow. So then the Adrenal Recode would be right for you. If you don't have the symptoms I just mentioned, but you are having persistent yeast infections and you're having eczema and psoriasis, you're headed to Gut Thrive first. So I hope that answers some of your questions. Ruby, you signed up yesterday. Welcome. Yes, you can have organic coffee on the Recode, and we covered that earlier in the live. You can have it at 10 a.m. only, and you have to have it with food and 12 ounces maximum a day.
As long as you see that it works for you.
Right.
Even at that time.
Right. And that's the thing too. I don't know if you've ever done 23andMe, or I did recently, just kind of checked it out. And so I'm not great at metabolizing caffeine. So I can have 2, ounces of coffee and you won't be able to get me to stop talking, for like 3 days. So basically, it really just depends on how caffeine affects you, and then the state of your hormones and the current sensitivity of your nervous system. Thank you. All right. So how will the Adrenal Recode support fertility? If you want to get pregnant in the next year, 2 years, 3 years, please do this program because
Yes.
you're going to be, many of you have read maybe my fertility book, How to Conceive Naturally. There's a lot of the same concepts in there. And we're basically creating balance in the most natural way. Instead of treating the hormones downstream, okay, you're low in progesterone and you need it to get pregnant, so take some progesterone. No, what we're doing is we're creating hormonal balance in your brain. Your hypothalamus is the director gland of the brain. It's going to tell the pituitary gland what to do. The pituitary gland produces and dictates the thyroid stimulating hormone. And if you don't have a healthy thyroid, you can't ovulate, you can't get pregnant. But beyond that, going into pregnancy resourced, going into pregnancy healthy, you're going to contribute a completely different quality of egg that you otherwise would. You're changing the genetic code of your child by doing something like this before conceiving, and you should bring your partner along with you because he's 50% of the equation, and you're also changing the quality of the sperm by doing this work, and both of you creating hormonal balance. And you know what? You need it because it takes a lot to produce a life and then to become a parent. And you don't want to have to go into adrenal fatigue. I've had a lot of clients, as I'm sure you have, where they say, I had a baby 8 years ago. I really don't even know. I've never felt the same since. I've never been able to lose weight. They feel like they've been on a treadmill they haven't gotten off of for 8 years. And so doing this work before you have a child can be a game changer. You can enjoy the experience of new parenthood.
It's going to provide a whole nother level of awareness for you that's going to support.
Yep. Oh, okay. So this is totally for you, Shamiran. My biggest problem is waking up between 12 and 3 a.m. Will this program help? Absolutely. You are getting a cortisol spike at night. You have a circadian rhythm issue that is the root cause of your insomnia issue. So hands down, that's a target market for the Adrenal Recode, are those who wake up traditionally between 1 and 4 a.m.
And this is one of the things that we talk about. We are restoring the adrenals through regulating the blood sugar throughout the day. So most people that are having sleep issues, it's not because of what you're doing before you go to bed, but it has everything to do with what you're doing from the moment you wake up till the time you go to bed. So one of the things we know when somebody, let's say, has a low body temperature and pulse is they have a hard time storing energy, right? The body cannot hold glucose because the adrenals are so on fire that it's wasting all that glucose very, very rapidly. So when you start to go into that fasting period, and a lot of you will begin to understand that, I only have a 2 to 3 hour window between when I need to eat again to continue to interrupt those hormones so that we create that consistency, that regulation in the system throughout the day. But again, if you're going into that fasting period, those who have low thyroid function, low body temperature, are going to have blood sugar handling issues. So we get that natural jolt of adrenaline between 1 and 3 a.m. That's natural for us to do. But when we can't regulate our blood sugar, it's a double whammy, which just bursts you awake. And some people have heart palpitations, can't get back to sleep, so on and so forth. So 100% regulating throughout the day is what's going to allow you to recover those sleep patterns. And the cortisol rhythms, essentially.
And a lot of times it's what you do first thing in the morning. That's going to dictate whether you're going to sleep at night or not.
That's your window of opportunity right there. Yes.
Yeah, so you're going to create, as Jeannie, has said so beautifully, just an entirely new level of awareness about how everything you Everything you do, that's my Jersey coming out. Everything you do affects you, so tremendously, and that it's not really like in the moment what you're doing that's creating the situation you're dealing with. It's something that could have happened yesterday or in the morning. This is a great question. Thank you, Kay. Yes. Okay. Lots of questions coming in. So Janice, I have a very high stress job coupled with Hashimoto's. It's autoimmune disease of the thyroid. I tend to burn through cortisol and my body doesn't create enough, so I take pregnenolone to help the body produce more cortisol. Will this program help regulate cortisol better?
Yes, and here's the tricky thing about pregnenolone is when you're throwing a hormone, because we see this a lot, into a body that from a pathway perspective is not functioning at its optimal, there's a very good chance that you could be feeding that cortisol a little bit more, because everything's going to be diverted and prioritized with the body, right? So
you can't control how the pregnenolone's converting, so it could be throwing fuel on the fire, which is really further damaging the thyroid.
And this is true for progesterone as well. We see this with a lot of women taking progesterone, is that it will fuel the cortisol conversion. So it will create more issues if you've ever had that experience. That's what's happening. Yeah.
So what we will do to help you regulate is to help you just to turn off that stress response and help your body produce appropriate cortisol for you, the right amount of cortisol that you need, and to stop revving the thyroid. A lot of times you think, okay, where did Hashimoto's begin? A lot of times it begins in the adrenal glands, where I would look at the hormone reverse T3 and see, okay, well, the adrenals have been on fire for so long that it's causing all this trouble over here in the thyroid, because they are such a symbiotic team. So like I said in the mini course, you can't have a thyroid problem without having an adrenal problem, and vice versa, which is why we address all of it. And to speaking to Tori Nell's question about the digestive system, I look at just really the entire field of health as a triangle. And the triangle is the adrenals, the thyroid, the digestive system. And that's everything that we're going to be working to make sure that all three of those systems work really well. And if they do, then your immune system and the rest of your hormones and really the rest of the body, including the nervous system, is going to be functioning in harmony. Okay. Thank you for all these questions, Janine. Okay, so will therapists or coaches be available for the recoding process? And the answer is yes. I don't want to say therapists. So we are not therapists. We are not giving you psychotherapy. That is not what this program is about. We are coaching you to new emotional patterns. So we have a life coach who worked for Tony Robbins for 10 years. Her entire field of work for 10 years, if she's been doing this work for 15 years, has been to help people identify and dismantle limiting beliefs. And you'll see her, you can read about her. Her name is Tamara Logan. And then we have Chris Bradley, who's an amazing emotional mastery coach. She's been doing this work for 30 years. I love this woman to the moon and back, and I have worked with her personally. And then the work is also backed, the forgiveness process is also backed by a brilliant therapist. So if you end up needing to work privately, you can work with them privately as you go through the process. But the process is thorough, it's complete, and it's highly supportive. So I think you're going to get a lot out of it. Margarita, how long does it take to feel results? The beginning stages, and this is it. And Jeannie and I always talk about this. She's like, you make sure you tell them, it's not going to be totally healed in 8 weeks. And like, we want to be as honest and open and authentic with you. And so we just said, it's about a month of healing for every year that you've been sick, but we know how to help you feel better and mitigate the symptoms that are causing all of the distress within 2 to 3 weeks. But again, we're your guides. So it's the level of commitment. What you put in is what you'll get out. The level of commitment that you put in to the program is what you get out. And I can see that you will feel 30 to 50% better within 3 weeks on the Adrenal Recode program. That's the average person. Of course, there's exceptions to every rule.
Right.
Okay, let's see. We've gotten this one. Rachel, do you want to take Rachel Strickland's question?
Working out the MB, okay. Again, this comes back.
Thank you.
We're really focusing on you as an individual. So again, based on what you're going to be looking at with your assessments and recording. So you take your morning temperature. Let's just say you wake up at a 96.5, you wake up at 7 a.m. and you're planning to go work out in an hour. Well, you have to think about that. Your energy systems are down. So can you surround it with the proper nutrition pre and post? Some people can. It really comes down to how your body's responding, the type of exercise that you're doing. There's also, everybody has different schedules. So some people can't work out in the evening. They have to work out in the morning. It makes them feel good. Movement is so important for all of us. It's just finding the right type. And sometimes we do need to make that modification, but a lot of the times we can surround it with the proper nutrition so that you're not compromising yourself and your recovery is much more available to you.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. All medication questions are coming. Can I continue to take Zoloft on the program? Can I continue to take my other meds on the program? And the answer to all of your anti-anxiety, your sleep meds, your antidepressant meds, whatever it is you may take, blood pressure, beta blockers, you do not manipulate your medications at all. So you can come into this program taking any medications. However, we are working to create, lasting healing. What happened here? Instagram, we lost it.
Do you want to play with that for a second?
Yeah, can you try to bring Instagram back? Okay.
Oh, there we go. Are we on?
No, sorry.
There we go. Oh, no. That was a picture.
We just took a picture of ourselves. Okay, hold on. Let's go back to live.
There we go.
Instagram, come back to us. Okay. I'll let you do that, Jeannie. So basically, what I'm saying, if you're on any medications, you are going to achieve healing, because think about it, we're balancing your excitatory inhibitory neurotransmitters of the brain on this program, and that's what you're taking the anxiety and the depression medication to do. Think about you're taking your thyroid medication and we're working to heal that. You're having maybe such a stress response that you're taking beta blockers, and then what happens when you're now living in your parasympathetic nervous system and you're living in rest, digest, and heal a lot of the time? This is where you need to make sure to book an appointment with your doctor, I would say 6 weeks into the program, and get things checked, because their doctor may want to cut your dose in half, and by the end of the program, you may be able to let go of some of these medications.
Mm-hmm. Be aware of the symptoms or the effects of your medication, so you can begin to differentiate between what the balance that you're establishing, also what is just naturally happening I lost my focus.
No, I'm so sorry. There's so much going on.
That's okay.
Yeah, so the medications and the balance of them.
Yes. Mm-hmm. So I still lost my thought. Sorry, guys.
Okay. So listen, is alcohol off limits, or are there moderate amounts allowed for women? So we are allowing 1 glass of preferably organic wine a week on the Adrenal Recode. Alcohol is pro-estrogenic, and we're working to balance your hormones, so we don't really want to have too many. But you guys should all be psyched if you've done my programs, because there's no alcohol in the Candida cleanse.
Well, and I want to speak to that for a moment, because let's be real. Let's be honest. Alcohol is toxic. Okay, that's the only way we can look at it. However, we are working with human beings here who the goal is to establish balance. We don't want to be, what is health? I think, and that's something we're really redefining here. We don't want to be so far on this end of the spectrum or so far on this end of the spectrum. We want to come more into relationship with what we need as individuals, so we can support that. And again, emotionally, if you feel like it's too rigid for you and you get upset because of limitations,
then have another one.
Then have another one. Like, seriously,
yeah,
right?
Really.
It's like you have to begin to ask the question, is this creating more stress, or is it actually helping me with my stress, right?
Yes. Is it taking away from my social engagements and things like that?
Right, right. It's finding the balance. And that's what the whole goal is, to come back to a place of balance and moderation. Stop living in these places that we feel so restricted and confined and can't do things and live our lives because of how we feel, right?
Yeah. This is intuitive nutrition at its finest. So Jeannie, I want you to take this question, but I also want to tag on the those who have had a thyroid removed. So Christy, you wrote in, you said a friend just had her adrenal glands removed a few days ago. How do you pronounce that? Hyperaldosteronism?
Yeah.
Can she do this program?
Quickly.
Can she do this program
she just
quickly?
Had it removed, so can
she do it this quickly because she just had it removed? Oh,
Absolutely.
yeah.
I think it would help create a lot of regulation in the system. I don't know if both adrenal glands, it looks like just one adrenal gland was removed.
I think just one.
Yeah. So there is the function of the other, but I think, again, this would be somebody who is in a very chronic state. So we have to set realistic expectations in this case scenario, but I think anything that's going to help take the burden off, typically it's been removed because it's been so heavily burdened.
Yeah.
Right. So anything that's going to support that is going to be supportive for her healing process.
And also please speak to those without a thyroid. You've got
Same
a couple
is true.
people without
Same is true.
thyroid.
And sometimes, honestly, and I know this is going to sound really weird, but not having a thyroid is almost easier
really
to deal with because of the medications. There is a need for people to have their lab tests more frequently, right? So we get to monitor that a little bit, but it's 100% effective. They'll start to see their medication dosages begin to come down a little bit more. They don't because the adrenals are coming back alive. So their conversions are happening a lot easier. They can begin to differentiate what medication is supportive versus not supportive and begin to make modifications if necessary there. So it's very informative to people that don't have thyroids, but also extremely supportive because of the effect on the adrenal glands.
Okay.
Yep, absolutely.
Benjamin, you asked
I'm sorry, just real quick, and blood sugar regulation, more importantly, because of that deficiency in the liver. Yeah.
I mean, blood sugar regulation is the one thing that people who live to 100 have in common. It's the one thing that affects our mood. It affects everything that we experience, from our moods to our energy levels. And so many of us have never really experienced the beauty of having really rock solid blood sugar balance. So Benjamin, your question is, how is this program different than your conception book? And so this program is much more refined than my conception book in terms of synergistic foods and using those, our 6-pillar approach. And by the way, the link to our enrollment page is the adrenalrecode.com/enroll. And you can see there we have a 6-pillar approach. So it's different in that we're using, our pillar number 4 is the targeted use of saturated fat to shut off the sympathetic nervous system response to put you into your parasympathetic. And so it's more granular, right? We're using 50% saturated fat, 45% monounsaturated, 5% polyunsaturated fat as the perfect balance to be able to support your nervous system. And so you're getting a lot of a granular approach. We're not taking your temperature and pulse and meal to meal feedback within the conception book. And if you've done the conception book, then you're already eating healthy, so your refinements are going to be easier, and the program's going to be a lot easier, and you'll get a lot more benefit much quicker. Okay, so Amy, go ahead.
I'm going to address that question.
Okay. Oh, Jackie, are there supplements involved in the program? So Jackie, this is also different than my other programs where there is just one required supplement, which I basically call it the Adrenal Recode Multi, if you will. And so the state that you're coming to us in, you need higher amounts. Your thyroid, adrenals, brain, nervous system need higher amounts of micronutrients, vitamins, minerals, and trace minerals. And so I want you to feel better, 30 to 50%, faster. And this is going to help to refill those stores and give you the wherewithal. Now, when you come in and you take the assessment in the Adrenal Recode, you'll be put, as we mentioned, in one of 2 tiers. And there are optional supplement packages for each tier, but they're not required. But it's for those of you who want to work, those of you are, feeling so anxious all the time and you haven't slept in weeks, I'm going to offer you more support in the form of supplements so that you don't have to wait the 3 weeks to get the system turned off. Okay, and that supplement, by the way, you'll need 2 bottles for the 2 months of Adrenal Recode. It's $105. So, the rest of my programs, you're buying supplement packages to be able to implement the strategy. And food is our primary supplement here, which is, again, why it's safe for pregnancy and nursing. Amy's asking, when will this be available after the initial rollout? I'm in the middle of Gut Thrive, and it sounds like this program would likely help me. So Amy, we haven't decided when we're going to do the next Adrenal Recode, but we're considering doing another live launch, maybe the second and final live launch in September. But we have to work all together as a team and to sort that out. It takes a lot to pull these together, but we'll definitely keep you posted as we make decisions. I'll send you an email. Okay, Nancy, I can't seem to lower my blood sugar no matter what I try. It's confusing to follow this approach and discouraging if nothing works. I'm postmenopausal and diabetic. Can you help?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I think this program,
we can help.
100. Absolutely. And I think, again, you know, your body and what you're expressing is again, in a little bit of more of a chronic state. And it's been adapted for a long period of time. So I think, again, it's going to take time. You have to be patient. Mm-hmm. We have to look at what your baseline is as far as what you're consuming now and how you're balancing that so that we can begin to slowly titrate it as we discussed earlier.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Great. I think we've already touched on this. Prabha is asking, will this apply to those who are taking Armour thyroid due to hypothyroidism or Graves' disease? Mm-hmm. And yes, whether you are hyper, hypo, Hashis, or Graves' disease, no matter what you are taking, you will get thyroid improvement. The extent of it and the time of that, we can't say unless you're in the program and we see how your body's actually responding to the clinical components of the program. And that's when you can say, okay, here, I've been doing my logs. By the way, you don't have to log every single day on the Adrenal Recode. You're doing 3 consecutive days a week, 4 different times, your temperature and pulse. And we need that to build for a couple of weeks so we can start to see a pattern. And then we'll be going over these logs, and then we'll be able to give you more targeted answers about where you're headed in your healing process throughout the program.
Teach you how to analyze those a little bit more on your own. Mm-hmm. There's a question over here about recommending Nature Throid, and can it be taken on the program? Mm-hmm. If you're currently on it, we do not recommend coming off of it. Mm-hmm. If you need, whether or not you need it, you'll be able to more clearly define as mm-hmm. you do the assessments in the program. Mm-hmm. A lot of the times, again, what appears to be a thyroid issue is typically more of a conversion issue. So my personal recommendation would be, if you're considering this program, take the steps to assess where your thyroid is right now. Mm-hmm. And that's, again, body temperature. It's going to allow you to define whether or not your thyroid is functioning, at what level it's functioning. And then can you work with your nutrition first? I always recommend the nutrition first because there's so much opportunity. Right. And that thyroid hormone, again, can act like a nitrous button, pushing the nitrous button on the system. It just overloads the system.
And just to be clear, when Jeannie says it's a conversion issue, so you have, a lot of us are taking thyroid meds, and we have the inactive thyroid hormone is T4, and if we're unable to convert into T3, the active thyroid hormone, that's the thyroid hormone inside of your cell that's going to help you make and burn energy. And so your logs are going to let us know, like, what is it a conversion issue? Is it a thyroid issue?
Most often,
is it a lack of T3?
Right, and that's why we do see it being more of a conversion issue because of the chronic stress pattern that most people are locked in. Not only are we no longer consuming carbohydrates because we're now sensitive to them because of the state of the body, mm-hmm. but we're also, with the adrenals are burning that fuel so rapidly that mm-hmm. it's not available to make that conversion, because you need that glucose, you need that thyroid hormone, and you need that oxygen to make that conversion.
Yep. Okay, Melissa, you are asking, if I'm on a bunch of other supplements, can I do this program? Yes, because supplements aren't required. And so once you are in the program, your body starts responding, you can either write into us on the live webinars or in the Facebook group. And if you have the goal of getting off of some supplements, we can help you with that, or just kind of refining the program that you're on. Mm-hmm. Thank you. Oh, absolutely. Can this help with PCOS, polycystic ovarian syndrome? Mm-hmm. I'm sure you've got some wonderful stories about healing PCOS.
Well, we've worked with a lot of people with PCOS, and again, it comes back to the hormonal pathways and how thyroid or hormones are being converted in the system. So the more regulation you get on the system, the less the body's converting that estrogen into I'm afraid I'm going to forget
I'm
the
sorry.
whole process, right? Either way, you're creating regulation in your hormonal systems. So 100% you're going to start creating more regulation there. Again, you're going to be a little bit more sensitive to those sugars. So we want to start very, very, very slow there. Yes.
Yeah, you'd probably would back up. You'd be one of the people who start off with a few tablespoons of fruit and root sugar, maybe half the amount of honey in the Recode elixir, and maybe a little bit heavier on some different microbiome balancing foods. So it's just shifting. That's the cool thing about this program. It's kind of like a dance, based upon where you are, we can help shift it to meet what's going on or how your body is manifesting stress in a way that causes dis-ease.
Right.
All right. Did we get to all of our questions? Is that possible?
Did we get all of these?
Lisa, yes, it is possible to watch this again. We're going to leave this live up here. We're going to send it out the next day. Oh, this is a great question from Benjamin. How is this program more useful than just using adaptogens? So it's basically, Benjamin, it's the difference of doing something external or doing something internal. And I love adaptogens. I talk about ashwagandha and rhodiola in the program because they're adaptogenic herbs, so they're going to modulate the cortisol response. Ashwagandha is going to also help with the thyroid. But again, they're just a tool. When that tool goes away, you're going to go back into the dysfunction that you were in, because what we're doing is we're healing this on the cellular level, not even on the hormone level. We're talking 37.2 trillion cells here that we are teaching and training to produce and manage and maintain energy. We're building mitochondria, we're building cellular energy. And so this is a complete rewiring. That's why I call it the Adrenal Recode. So this is not just something that you're trying to alleviate a stressful period in life, right? This is a recode of your entire endocrine and nervous system in a way that allows you to live differently going forward.
And I think what you're saying is really important, because it is the consistency. What we have to realize, human beings adapt. That's what we're designed to do, right? Yeah. So neurologically, we have adapted into faulty patterns. So it's the consistency that's going to allow us to recover that HPA GT axis, right? The hypothalamus pituitary adrenal. So the adaptogen is great. It can be in support of what you're doing. But if you're just taking it without the regulation of the system, it's not going to be as effective, as is true with most supplements, as you would agree, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Right? You have to, that they're supplemental for a reason.
Right. They're supplemental for a reason. And we can use supplements, like a Band-Aid, just like we use medications, or we can use them to ground in our nutrition. And that's where, and I'm recommending supplements on the Adrenal Recode, it's to ground in the nutrition you're already taking and to work harmoniously with it to flip the script. Oh, thank you. Okay, Lori, I am on bioidentical progesterone. I am on testosterone. I'm 61 years old. Is it possible to get off these supplemental hormones also? Yes, Lori, 100%. And so your body, you're going to create, when you start to really refill the adrenals and the thyroid, and then you can test your hormones with your doctor at the end of the program. And I can almost guarantee that your body is going to be trained to be able to make more of your sex hormones in the right amounts for you. And that's why this is, we do it root cause upstream, is we give your body what you need via the brain and the nervous system, the thyroid and the adrenals, and we say, here you go. Only you can make your perfect sex hormone balance, right? Not necessarily labs. And I'm not against, really top quality bioidentical hormones to be used as Band-Aids, and they can be really helpful. But when the body, the healing process is on, you probably won't need them.
Right. Okay, and if you do, it might be just a little bit of progesterone, just because can be very helpful.
Yeah. So Jackie's asking, this is good, will there be personal help if a person has food sensitivities? So by personal help, I'm saying this is not a one-on-one program. So it's a group program like all Whole Journey programs, but there is an abundance of support with 5 clinicians. And absolutely, we will be there to help those of you who have food sensitivities and histamine intolerance. And Jackie's saying, I have a dairy sensitivity. And so you don't need to consume dairy to do the Adrenal Recode. this is one of my only programs that includes dairy, because, we can help you if it's a sensitivity, if it's not, cross-reactive proteins because you have a high gluten sensitivity or celiac, but if it's just a sensitivity to dairy, we can help you overcome that sensitivity. And we have a plan where we would just use micro amounts of sheep and goat's milk cheese, and then the 3 cheeses we talked about in the mini course to help your body be able to digest and use the cow dairy again. Here's the thing, is that these raw milk products, these top quality grass-fed, grass-finished products, they contain the perfect amount of B2 riboflavin and vitamin B12 and potassium and calcium and phosphorus, the micronutrients we need, but they also contain the macronutrient profile we need, the amount of proteins, carbs, and fats to shut off the stress response, feed the thyroid without the thyroid having to work for it at all, and click you over into your parasympathetic nervous system. So for this process, they are superfoods. However, you don't have to eat them if you're sensitive to them, because we'll work with you.
And that's true for any foods that you experience sensitivities or intolerances to, and they're on the food list. It doesn't mean that you have to consume them. Continue to avoid them. Create more balance and regulation in the system, and you'll see that over time it's more what's happening in your system that's causing the intolerances. So you'll be able to begin to consume those foods again.
Yep.
Absolutely.
Okay, what's your experience, Jeannie, with low-dose naltrexone? Modulating the immune system. This is Lisa. She got over breast implant illness 90% better.
Mm-hmm. I think that it can be very, very supportive in this certain situation. I don't think that there's any reason. I'm not sure what the question is exactly, or is it?
Oh, she's taking low-dose naltrexone to modulate her immune system, and it's helped her. So basically, how does that apply, when you're coming off? Because you don't need to stay on low-dose naltrexone for the long term. So she's probably 90% better.
90% better. You're ready to rock and roll, and you'll come off pretty quickly.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
Probably within about a month if you want to come off of the naltrexone, especially since you're already feeling so great. Mm-hmm. And then I'll let you talk about this. I know we've touched on it. Benjamin, I'm losing the comments because they're coming in so fast, talk about Candida. Here. Oh, never mind. We answered it.
We answered
Thank you. We've got such an amazing team. Thank you guys for answering this. Robin Dowdy has been a long-term client from private practice and friend. She says, hi, Krista. I was diagnosed with scleroderma this summer and I'm now postmenopausal. I have not been able to get off thyroid meds. She's taking a lot of Synthroid for Hashimoto's. A lot of stress, Robin. I'm sorry. She says she lost her father. Stressful. Suspects her adrenal gland. Yeah, Robin, you really are perfect. I really want you to do the Adrenal Recode, or she's saying, or retake Gut Thrive. You have so much going on, Robin, hormonally and with the nervous system, and grief and loss and stress induced. And plus, I know you personally, and I know that you are a sensitive soul. And so this is the perfect program for you versus retaking Gut Thrive right now, because it's a completely different approach.
It's going to help resource you.
Yeah. How about scleroderma? Do you have experience?
We do have experience. I don't personally have experience with scleroderma, so I can't really speak to that directly right now, but I'd be more than happy to provide some information.
Yeah. Robin, I've got your email, so I'm going to look into that, and I'll shoot you an email and let you know about the scleroderma. Mm-hmm. Sorry, Instagram, we'll cut you off here for a second.
I think we still have all our questions coming in.
We have through Facebook?
Mm-hmm. Through Janine as
Janine
well.
Too. Okay. All right. They're coming from every direction. Okay. All right. This is a good one. I can't obtain organic raw milk or dairy when I live, but I have an abundance of coconuts. You're cool. You're cool. See, we're going for the saturated fat balance that I just talked about, the 50-45-5, and you can use coconut instead of dairy. So no problem.
And as you have to work with what's available in your region of the world. So just keep that in mind.
Yeah. Okay. So my diet is limited because I have chronic celiac disease, of course, and I have chronic lymphatic inflammation. What do you suggest? And so, this is a gluten-free program. You can do this program grain-free. You can do this program dairy-free. So I think that that's wonderful. And then we don't have targeted lymphatic support within the program, but I have a lot of experience with lymphatic support and detox. So I will guide you that way when we're on the live webinars and through the tickets to add a lymphatic component to the Adrenal Recode. But again, when you have celiac disease, your body is under tremendous stress. And so you have to support the endocrine system. And I'm sure you've
any
got
level,
a lot to say
any
about
inflammation in the system is going to need to be supported through, again, blood sugar regulation and recovering the state of the endocrine nervous system endocrine relationship 100%.
And so through temperature and pulse, right, we're looking to see, is your body in a state of inflammation? Because whether you have celiac or whether you don't, so many of us have the silent killer inflammation happening. And what does your body do? Because your body's always looking out for you. It's going to secrete cortisol to try to buffer that inflammation. It's going to keep you kind of stuck in this state. So this is a re-education of your endocrine and nervous system.
Yes.
And it's obviously we're working to slash inflammation at the cellular level. Bladder problems, 3 years. Will this program help? This is from Instagram. Sorry, we missed it. So yes, so that goes exactly back to what we were just talking about. A lot of chronic bladder problems, interstitial cystitis, or where you're getting chronic E. coli. This is happening because of an inflammation process. And I love the work of Louise Hay. A lot of times the chronic bladder stuff, that the bladder is the area of the life, the area of the body that has to do with trusting the process of life. And a lot of us, we're going to work on that in part 2 of the Adrenal Recode, is trusting the process of life, is trusting ourselves, putting yourself in the driver's seat of your own emotions. And that is going to emotionally repattern you. And that is also going to be a complete game changer. So we will look at IC and bladder issues from both directions.
And I think what you just said right now is really important, Krista, because I think where people are right now and having been down so many different avenues of healing, that they've really lost faith in their body and that trust that their body can heal. And I just want to say that it is your inherent right to heal, and you have the ability to do it. And we mentioned it earlier, is that your body is constantly trying to reach that goal. It just doesn't have the tools. And this program is what is going to allow you to define those tools for yourself. And it's not going to look like everybody else, right? And it shouldn't look like everybody else. And there's another question that always comes up is, I work so hard, and why is it so hard for me? And I see other people just totally not taking care of themselves in any way, shape, or form, eating these horrible diets, and they're thriving. That comparison, that quote on comparison.
Compare and despair.
Compare and despair, exactly. Number one, we're all at different levels of our healing process, whether we feel it or not. Again, the world is in a state of stress, right? So we are all being heavily affected. We don't know what's going on with another person at any given time. But I think, again, what this program allows you to do is come back into relationship with yourself so that we can begin to really respect and honor our uniqueness, right? I just wanted to speak to that for a second, because I do speak to so many people who have, we'll sit on a call and say, I don't trust my body to heal. I'm like, well, we have to really work with that a little bit and really look at where that's coming from, right?
Yeah, that gives me chills. That's why this is different than anything else that's out there, is trusting your body. But there's also what we wrote into the materials is, you can't, to find balance in your life, you can't take a few months away from parenting. You can't take, can't take it. I mean, a lot of us can't take a year sabbatical off of work to heal. Or what's going on with our world situation is like, life is happening anyway. And so by trusting your process and going in and creating this rock solid grounding foundation, that you will be able to heal and trust your body. And that will give you untold peace no matter what's happening around you. That is the true jewel in this, is to be able to trust your body and maintain health for the long term, regardless of external circumstances, because external circumstances will never go away as long as we're living in a human body in this world. Right.
And I think you and I were having a conversation the other day, and we were talking, I was saying, if you're a human being who needs to eat to survive, this is your best chance to survive, right? Is to learn how to use your food to build your resiliency to defend yourself against the stressors of today, the world, and it reconnects you back to yourself. And I think that, if we look at what trauma is, it is a disconnection from self. And I think that a lot of us are being disconnected from self. So to bring ourselves back into relationship with our bodies, how our bodies process and function, is such an empowering tool. It's such an empowering gift.
Yeah.
So
we've been on so long, the battery in my phone is going.
Yes.
So we're going to answer a couple more questions. Jeanette, welcome to the program. God bless you too. We cannot wait to guide you. Welcome Amy from Washington and Ruby from California, Vera from North Carolina. We've got people from all over the country in the US, and we're now up to 9 different countries on 4 different continents. And so that is so cool to think you're going to be going through this program for 2 months, learning more than you ever could possibly imagine about how to heal your own body for the long term, doing it together. There's strength in numbers, guys. Could you have the team do me a favor and post our enrollment link, since that didn't come up when I first launched this? Okay, so Laura is asking a question. I have trouble digesting fat. Can I do the program? Sure, absolutely, Laura. That's really probably a liver issue. I mean, we may have you suggest that you take ox bile or something to help you digest fat. And this is where that whole manipulation is going to come in, which Jeannie will say, where people say, tell me exactly how much protein, carbs, and fats to eat. Well, we can't, because, you're going to be eating probably less fat, and we're going to be manipulating your fat differently until your liver is healthy enough again to utilize it, and your gallbladder can digest fat. And so this program is for highly sensitive people, and like Jeannie said, it sounds silly, but it's like for every human that eats, it can be amended and adapted for. And that's not to get you to do the Adrenal Recode, it's just to understand that that's the way that cellular healing works.
And the power of it.
The power of it.
Yeah.
All right, let's talk about the ketogenic diet for a second.
Okay.
Can we go? Do you have time to go a few more minutes?
A few more minutes.
10 more minutes? All right. Okay. So ketogenic diet, super popular. I've done a show on it. And Nancy says, but it's hailed for diabetics. What is your thought on this? And so I'll let you begin. And I'll add to that.
Well, I'll say straightforward that I'm not a fan of the ketogenic diet, because your body has to be in a stressed state to begin to break down fat for energy. Period. That's this.
That really is. It's your body prefers to burn carbohydrates as fuel. And that's how it will work the best.
Yes.
So it's basically, if you're going to go on a ketogenic diet, and it's like saying that your car needs to run off of petroleum, but you're going to put diesel in it. And so, it's going to run, but eventually the engine's going to have trouble. And so if you're going to use a ketogenic diet for 3 to 6 weeks, you'll put yourself in that adaptive state, and you will definitely get benefits, but it is absolutely detrimental to stay on for longer than that in my
absolutely.
experience.
And it's going to only perpetuate what you're trying to recover. So by taking and eliminating those carbohydrates and forcing your body into that state to have to use that fat as energy is, again, only perpetuating the underlying issue. So it is not in any benefit or support. If you're just somebody, again, who's going to be very, 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 very sensitive to the use of carbohydrates to rebuild your system. So we have to be very mindful of how we reintroduce those to your diet.
Yay.
Yes.
Kristen, so excited to have found you, Jeannie. You make her feel like she's in good hands.
Hi, Kristen.
Okay. Kerala Clift. I was one of the first group of gut thrivers and can attest to how excellent Krista's programs are. Thank you. You'll learn a ton about all kinds of things. Thank you so much. Okay, so you're on thyroid medication. Autoimmune markers have never been high. I'm so glad that Gut Thrive helped you, and you're optimistic for the program, and I can't wait to have you with us. Yay. And especially, guys, if you've done Gut Thrive, you have set up a marvelous foundation. You've done Candida, you've set up a marvelous foundation to reduce the burden on your gut and immune system, and just get right into the hormones and the nervous system and start affecting positive change pretty rapidly. All right.
Great.
Yeah? You okay with questions? All right. All right, everybody. Okay, so listen, we're going to be observing the Facebook here because Instagram Live, I don't think we can answer questions on this afterwards, but you can always write in to info@thewholejourney.com if you have questions. Our team is standing by. If you have not taken the Adrenal Recode mini course, then you must, because that is where we're introducing the science, we're introducing the concepts, and if it resonates with you, then this is for you. And you can take that until January 6th. It goes away January 6th. So make sure you go to the adrenalrecode.com. If you haven't watched the mini course, watch it. And if you have, you can enroll at the adrenalrecode.com/enroll. And there is another list of frequently asked questions there that we'll be adding to after this live. And then Jeannie and I will be taking a look at all the comments, so you can continue to comment here after the live, and we will do our best to answer the comments there and also on the mini course. So we are completely dedicated. This is rare, and I will say, those of you that were in the original Gut Thrive, you know it's sold out. We had like 3,000 people on the wait list that wanted to do the program but couldn't get in. Kick Candida, the first time I launched it, it sold out. And so the Adrenal Recode is so groundbreaking. I am sure that it will also sell out. If you know you want to do the program, make the commitment. It's a new year, it's time, and we're going to lead you to positive change that lasts, and not just for 2019, but for beyond, for a new way of living, a new and better way of living. So happy holidays to all of you. Thank you for spending time with us. All right. Bye, everybody.
Bye, everybody.